Hey guys, new video here. I'll try to make this video pretty quick and concise. This is a Twink leveling guide. I'm just gonna pop off in this zone here. I'm currently level 61, making my way through the axe, getting all my quests done and everything, getting some skill points. And what you'll see here is like this is some of my Twink gear. I'm currently using Consecrated Path. The reason it might look a little bit different than yours is because mine has a lot of MTX on it. Recently, Grinding released some stuff for like Fist of War, as well as some stuff for the Consecrated Path itself, right? Now, personally, people always ask me like, which skill do you use? Like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? I've tried Ice Crash, Smite, now Consecrated Path. I leveled as Consecrated Path right when I could, all the way up to 61 currently. I tried, let's see, Smite, Ice Crash, Consecrated Path. I tried Infernal Blow. I pretty much tried almost everything, right? And I have to say that my favorite in terms of smoothness, ease, like how it feels, how it gets you to the stage where you transition into your real build, I think that Smite is the best. But if you find another thing usable, that is totally fine, right? It's great that like with Twink gear, you get so used to it because you level the same way every single time. What ends up happening is that you kind of know what you can swap out, right? If you swap into a slam skill, you'll use certain supports and play a certain way. If you play a strike skill, then you'll level a certain way and then use certain supports and might change things up like Watcher's Eyes. But I'll go over all of this in this video, okay? So Smite is my preferred way. I just never leveled until now as Consecrated Path, so I wanted to try it out. So what does like Twink really mean? Twink just means that like for a given level and when you're leveling, especially low levels, right? I think the term comes from like WoW and MMOs before that. You are using the best gear possible. So let's go back to town and I'll show you my leveling tab and what I've kind of bought and how we scale up, right? The reason that you might want to Twink is like leveling kind of sucks, right? Like I don't like leveling. I really don't. I mean, with Twink here, I think leveling's totally fine. It's kind of fun, right? I just don't like doing it on stream because I'm kind of slow. But you know, if you're like me and other people that in the community share this kind of this feeling of that leveling, like kind of like just like it's not the best part about PoE. Let's just say that, even though they release like lots of content all the time, you know, those back then they released like 5 new acts. Wow, you know, like my friend MP, you know, he doesn't like leveling either, right? And it's because it's probably like 2 things. Number 1, you're probably like really slow at it. Number 2, it just feels like such a grind, right? You're coming from a state where you've made your first character, you've leveled it up, and now you want another character, and so you go from this like godlike character that's blowing up half the screen or like multiple screens, moving at the speed of light, into this character that's moving around like on the Twilight Strand, and it just feels really bad. So twinking is supposed to make the leveling process really fun. It also helps make the leveling look really cool because the MTX available to you and the armors and all that stuff is like great. It also builds muscle memory because if you use a Twink set, like I personally, I currently have like 8 or 9 level 100s this league, and I've leveled every character past the first one as this Twink set, right? Because you can buy all the gear and you can use it all at once. One of the worst parts about getting a new character, I think, is like oh man, what am I gonna level? Like, what am I gonna equip at this time? With this, you get so used to it that in the future, unless things change with patch notes and stuff, everything you do will be with this set of gear or sets of gear, depending on what skill you like the best. Or if you just want to try something different, it will be kind of universal, and you'll get really smooth at like, okay, I'm at this level, I'm gonna swap in this. I'm at this level, I'm gonna swap in this, right? Like for example, for me, I always know that like, okay, you know, at level 18, I get my really good support gems, right? At level 40, I get to put on my header and leveling belt, you know. At level like 42, I think it is, I got to put on my juicy boots or whatever. And so let's go over what we start with. So when you're gonna start as a level 1 character, you are gonna have a Darkness Enthroned, okay? And I'm gonna talk kind of fast because there's a lot to go over, but it's actually very, very simple. And I will say this as a warning to people who are like racers. This is not for racing. This is just like for me. I'm not trying to like set any records, you know, because I'm super slow. I'm like one of the slowest levelers out there. I'm not gonna min max every little thing to go as fast as possible with like move speed and like, you know, smoke mining. If you want to watch that, I have a really good suggestion for you, and that is Ty Killer. You guys probably know him on his YouTube. Ty Killer. He went to XLCon. He raced in XLCon. He's gonna be like the 2022-2023 XLCon champion back to back, the 2-time. You know, he's really, really good. And if you go to his YouTube channel, you can see like full Twink gear on bows and melee. He also uses hollow palm, but you'll see gear adjustments for pure speed and racing, and you'll see someone behind the wheel of like a racer behind the wheel, right? Like for example, if you're gonna drive like a Formula 1 race car, right? You're probably gonna suck at it, right? But if you watch tie-dyes killers, you can get like the pyramid max. This is just like my overall, it feels so good. I can put on a Netflix I can put on a Netflix show. I can watch some anime or something while I'm leveling. I don't have to look at the screen. I know I'm gonna kill everything, just blow everything up, and it feels really, really good. Okay, so with that recommendation of watching tie-dyes for the full Twink racing, let me get into what we're gonna be using. So at level 1, we're gonna use the Darkness Enthroned. You can equip this at level 2 because you get to the town, right? For the gems, when you search for these on the trade site, you're going to want to make sure that your filter does not have level requirements. So just put the maximum level for these jewels to be level 2 because you want to use them right away. And the Darkness Enthroned actually got buffed, so these boosted a little bit. And all you really want in there is like move speed, right? If you can get like double move speed or like any more stats that you can, sure, that's fantastic. But all I searched for, some of the pieces are actually kind of expensive, but some of the pieces I just took the first thing available to me. Okay, keep that in mind as well. So you're gonna search for 4% move speed if you killed recently, and then you're gonna search for life, and then maybe some dex or any other stat that you can, right? Don't get too picky with it because you lose a lot of time if you spend too much time buying this stuff. So that's also going to be right here. Equip that right away. You are going to have a clean pair of 7 league steps, right? I think these are like 70C or something. Let me just check for you guys. 7 league steps, I believe, are very plentiful because people are doing a bunch of hidden invitations, and then the escape is a very easy card that drops. So everybody has 7 league steps. Buy some of these. 50% move speed is huge, right? If I just show you walking around in town here, take them off, you see how slow I am here? And then when I put them on, whoa, look at that, right? Feels pretty good. So those are equipable right away as well. For the rings, I use 2 black hearts at the beginning. You can put these on at level 2, right? Gives you some damage. And then I'm going to use the red beaks here. So this is kind of like your starting set because red beaks, pretty damn good damage. Make sure you quality up the stuff if you can. Those things are pretty cheap. And once you have this on, you're pretty much good to go because you can use a smite right away. It is a level 1 thing. You just get one, I recommend for any of the gems I talk about, you're going to buy them with 20% quality or whatever's cheaper, get them to 20% quality yourself somehow. And you are going to never corrupt these, right? Because when you finish leveling, you will sell all the gems that are leveled with a regret orb to a vendor, and it'll make them into level 1 versions for your next character, okay? So just make sure you get quality because all the qualities together do kind of help. This is kind of like your starting set. You can put on a tabby, I guess, if you want, right? But it doesn't really matter because this will slow you down. But then also you have more than enough links in these things to kind of get your starting ability going with smite because you can't really link too much to it. So that's what it is. And then the Loctanials you can put on if you want some gloves on. Later on you have to remove them because this is a hollow palm build, which relies on this at level I think it's about level 12 or something like that. Okay, is there anything else? Oh, you got to get some kind of quicksilver. It doesn't matter if it's a white quicksilver. If I were to scour this, it wouldn't be that big a deal. Alchemist quicksilver flask of adrenaline is at level 16, so don't worry about that early on. And then just so you can move early. Now, when I've been leveling with quicksilvers, I find that 2 is the best because I can smash these 4 flasks for damage and speed, and then I have an extra one right here because I hit my side mouse button, and then that's the second one when this quicksilver is out of juice. Here I'm just testing this for a little bit more damage. I'm trying out a crit version of leveling, so kind of like testing some new stuff out because I'm an assassin. So once you have all of these things on, you're ready to go out and start killing stuff. Okay, the first additions that you will make are eventually when you are leveling, you're gonna find that you have pretty bad support gems, right? So what you're gonna want to do is the support gems that first go in are any of the damage support gems like this or added lightning that will I think these are level 4 or something that you can put, or maybe level 8 I think you can put in just to supplement your damage that tiny bit, but you don't really have too many options, so don't worry about that. At level 4 I believe you get Ancestral Call, and this is really important for smite because it gives you that really wide AoE, and for strike skills Ancestral Call is kind of necessary because it expands your AoE by it feels 100 times, right? And you'll put that on. And then for if you're going to go a slam skill later on, you don't use Ancestral Call. Instead, you will use something called Fist of War. Where is that? Right here. Okay. So that's going to be your starting links right there. Also, when I was talking about things that you will get later, like your main links I get asked all the time, what are your main links for smite, right? So if I were going to go smite, where is my smite? Actually, right here. So my main links would be smite. And then I would go Fist to Lightning because it already converts some of it to Lightning. So you're all Lightning now. And then I would go Ancestral Call And then I would go weapon elemental damage, all right, or elemental damage with attacks. Sorry, I always say like wed. And then, oh, I forgot to include the gold room. And then what you're going to do is you can go melee physical damage, and then you can go like fortify on a 6th link if you can get those colors, or a faster attack later on if you can't get the green off of there. Now that's 3, and you can, for single target, because Ancestral Call is a less multiplier. So for bosses, you're having a hard time, take out this gem and just get really close to the boss. You can substitute in any other gem of damage. I recommend like fortify later on at level 31, I think. Or you can find, if you like another support gem that you find is either utility or that you like better, you can go ahead and swap it in. But it's not really necessary. You're going to be doing so much damage with the Hollow Palm, okay? Going on from there, what you're going to want to do is, as you have this, the first thing you're going to put on at level 5 is you're going to put on a Karui War. Now, you can either get like a corrupted one, so that you can get like just a base 10% move speed, but that might be hard to find. So I just anointed Fleetfoot. It's really cheap. And that is a node right here on the tree, okay? Makes you pretty speedy. I really like that a whole lot. At level 9, you get a chest like this, right? Now, ideally, that green socket isn't really the best, right? You can go a red socket is better for reasons, because there's just like too many good support gems, right? There's like, you can really choose whatever you want, like melee fizz, wed, right? Elemental damage with attacks. If you're Slam Rummer, Fist of War, if your strikes, Ancestral Call, damage on full life, that works as well. You can put in even like Ink AoE if you have an AoE skill, if you want to reach a little bit farther and you feel like your damage is good. There's so many good ones that I think the best colors is something like this, right? I'm using all red right now, but if you can get a Varici bench to white socket, it'll help a lot as well. Okay, so at level 9, you put this on and then you'll really start popping off. Okay. After that, what is next? I personally like to, at level 16, right, as I'm getting my heralds on, I have all 3 heralds. Actually, I have all 4 heralds. You'll see that I have 3 here, and that's because I'm testing out Herald of Purity right now, but you can choose any 3 that you can equip. Now, certain characters, depending on where you start on the tree, have different starting stats, right? So, like, as a, like, if I am a witch, right, I'm gonna have issues probably with, like, dex or, like maybe like strength early on, but then once you put on your Astromantes, it doesn't really matter. But you'll find that that might play a role in which one you choose initially. Okay, if you're using physical skills, obviously like the Herald of Purity and the Herald of Ass are like really good, but you can add in one of these if you want. Choose any 3 that you like the look of, honestly, right? Some of them won't even go off because like Herald of Ice, you need to shatter the guy, and you don't have any crits, so it's really hard to do. But it's just a little bit of extra damage. Pick 3, use that for as long as you have the stats for it. You'll keep leveling it up. Okay. Then, also at level 16, you're going to use things like Alchemist Quicksilver Flask of Adrenaline. This is like a 1 Exalt Flask right now, I think, but you can get 2 of them. I like to use one with my main flask presses, and I like to have a separate one for when it runs out, so you can maintain your really, like, the speedy nature of your build. Next, after that, at level 20, I just like to put these on. I always used to use these with Aberrath's Hooves, right? Like a big extra Spite or a big Grip or a big Pass is also fine. Just put 2 of those on level 20. You'll be replacing them very soon. And then at 24, this is where the biggest part of the build comes in, okay? And this is, you're going to equip 2 rings, 2 rings like this, okay? Lay Hoop of All. And the reason you use these is because it's massive stats. If I didn't go over the jewel yet, is if you, I think most people will know what this is, right? One of nothing. It's just the dex stacking. Every dex point you get adds damage, right? You can see how much dex it adds for every 10 points of dex while you're unencumbered. Unencumbered just means that you're not wearing gloves or a shield or a weapon, okay? I have like 809 dex, so that's like pretty insane for a leveling character. You just destroy everything. There's actually, some people have told me that they reach some points where it feels like it slows down, but in my opinion, I don't think it does if you have all this Twink gear, okay? Because like it's just so many stats. So the roles that you want to go for are most importantly, you're looking for the stat and the resist. You want those as high as possible and as much as you can afford, right? So get 2 of those, and at level 24, when these come on, you will notice it. It really pops off. And the all resist is also pretty crazy, right? Like I'm capped right now, although I haven't killed Merciless Katava. But then when you do, obviously your maps, you can start putting on like better gear, like rare items and stuff that have resist. So that's not really an issue. So as you see, like throughout, you are capped. If you're going to kill the bandits, kill Creighton and Oak, and then help Alira, because 5 mana regen is insane. 15% all res is insane, but the mana regen you will really notice, especially when you're starting out, okay, before you get some mana leech. So From there, other flasks to note is like Wise Oak is at level 8, Quicksilver or Silver Flask at level 22, Lion's Roar is at level 27, and then this one once again is going to be a Quicksilver Flask. I'm just testing something out on Assassin right now. After you've put those items on, your next piece of gear that you are going to swap out is very slowly you're going to pay attention to two things, right? Number one, can you put in an Enlighten? Because every little bit of mana you can get is going to be really nice for the smoothness of just spamming your attack. And you are also going to want to level that up. Like most people have like corrupted ones that are like bricked, right? Like level 2 and level 3. So that means that level 2, that's a level 10, and level 3 is level 45, and a level 4, if you have it, is at level 60. The other thing you really want to pay attention and swap to as soon as possible is your big aura. Now, the reason that this is actually so important for these builds is that auras, when you compare it to the amount of physical damage you have from your decks, it's not really that big a deal, because let's say you put on Wrath, and Wrath is, although for spells it's a more multiplier, for attacks it's added. And when you have so much added damage, that little bit of added lightning isn't that big a deal, although it is a 21 Wrath, which would normally be a level 72 character, but you are level 36 on this ring. So you can get this on any, as a corruption on a Lahoop. You can get actually any of the big 50% auras. You can get like Wrath, Hatred, Anger, things like this on the ring. The level that you can equip it might differ from like 36 to like 41, I think it is. Let's see, where's the other one? I have another one here. This is like level 44, right? So once you put that on, it's so good because you can buy a cheap Watcher's Eye. And if you look at what I'm using right now, right? So first I have a I'm once again testing out Consecrated Path. So what I have is a 50% conversion here, and then I can put in a Watcher's Eye like this, right? Because I can both convert and I can add crit to it. If you're going with an Andrew one, which might actually be better, you can go something like this, right? Where you convert and then you have 25% as extra. Isn't that crazy? And then if you're Wrath, you can go something like this. And when I bought these, they were all actually really, really cheap, right? This one was actually a tiny bit more expensive, but like if you want like a 25% Fizz extra or a penetration one, it's like 20C or something like that when I bought it. So really, really crazy, because I don't know why, but like apparently nobody cares about Wrath Watcher's Eyes anymore. So you can equip this on, and you can just imagine like with those stats how much of a damage bonus you get the moment you can put on the corrupted ring. After that, it gets really, really simple. You just basically convert into what I'm wearing right now. So the Wild Wrap, I believe, is level 57, I want to say. Wild Wrap is basically a prophesied version of this, right? If you get Breachy Benches from the Betrayal, you can add white sockets to make it a little bit easier for you, or you can use Harvest Crafting to get the colors you want. So what you're going to look at mainly here is like the big difference is that there is the that line at the very bottom, right? You see how it says 1% damage per 15 dex, so a big boost in damage, and then of course to the defensive stats, which isn't really that important. So you're going to put that on. Now you don't need a Headhunter, obviously. This is a Twink leveling, like your second character. I didn't have a Headhunter or anything, but what you can do is your options are you can still use this if you want, or you can use a String of Servitude. A String of Servitude triples its implicit, and so you can get like 36% move speed on a String of Servitude. That's totally fine if you want to use something like this and get like the bigger life rolls at that time for those jewels, and you can get like double 4% movement speed on each one. So that's like 16% times 1.75, pretty good, right? Still pretty darn good. And then you're going to put on your bigger flask. So later on, what I might try is I might try and swap in a Cinder Swallow. I might try like, if you have Bottled Faith, which is pretty cheap right now, you have a lot of options here that you can use. I chose to use a 7-link step that has a move speed implicit. You can also get one that has a enchant on it, for the lower, like for the Cruel, the Merciless, or the Uber Lab, and then those will skill and level as well. But the Corruption is the best because, like, ideally, if you had a 50% 7-link step and a 10% implicit, what's going to happen is that you can wear that level 2. So that's the 60% booties because enchants add level. So don't ever enchant your boots in the lab, okay? You're only paired because it will add a level requirement. But, that's 60%. I mean, it doesn't seem like much, but if you're using this on every single character, that 10% will be like pretty noticeable, and it's like kind of for free. It's not annoying to like switch over. I guess I forgot to talk about the Astromantes. So Astromantes is so good because like it just adds so much stats. Like the moment you put this on level 20, right, and you can anoint anything else you want, you just get a giga amount of damage. Like you might go from like, I don't know, 3 or 4k to like 19, 20,000 tooltip damage, and you'll just start one-shotting every boss in the game at that point. And you'll start one-shotting like entire packs. There's no way anything can like there's only, it's like a one tap all the way through for the rest of the campaign once you put this thing on. Okay. And yeah, I can't recommend it enough. It's really good. Make sure it's catalyzed, get the max thing. It's not that expensive right now. So you can definitely put that on at level 20. If you're gonna go with a slam skill, so I have tried the slam skills. I've tried Ice Crash and Conk Path. I really don't like Conk Path now that I think about it. But if Ice Crash was really good, the thing about Smite and Strike skills is it just feels more smooth. It feels more fluid, and it feels like you get out of the action more, right? Like from one pack to the next, you know that when you hit that Smite button, your AoE is so large, and the Ancestral Call, you're just like shotgunning everything around you, that you're just moving on. This one, the Conk Path, sometimes I feel like I'm like kind of clunky and like sluggish moving back and forth. Like, yeah, it teleports me to a pack, but if I have to go backwards or sideways because I missed some mobs, then it's not the same, right? But if you are going to use a slam skill, I recommend actually like Ice Crash maybe. But the supports will be the same, right? Later on, you'll use Fortify, you'll use Fist of War. Fist of War is like kind of insane. I use a Pulverize just because I really like AoE, but you can use like damage on full life or anything else. This is a Wed, and then, you know, once again, other swaps that you can use are anything that you want for utility, or like for example, if you don't like the less attack speed here, you could take this out and put in even like a faster attacks if you want, right? Or you can put in like an added fire, or like, you know, you look in PoE to see whether you want the most damage or like you want some mix of utility and maybe defensives like Fortify. So that's what we're gonna use there. This one I'm using a Hatred because I'm using a Hatred Watcher's Eye. You have to line up the aura with the Watcher's Eye. And then as for like what I'm using, past like I'd say past level 18 to 20, nothing really changes, right? You're still gonna use so I use Intimidating Cry just because it doubles the damage, right? It like it makes your next 2 melee attacks deal double damage, and that's like pretty huge for things like Azaro when you're doing lab. You can do lab very early on this build, like 24, 23, 24. You go into the regular lab, you'll get your Ascendancy. Intimidating Cry, I pretty much only use for the bossing because it like slows down your character. I'm using a Lighten here. I'm using a dash with Second Wind so I can dash around more. It feels really smooth. And at level 60, you know, you get a dash enchant, which is very cheap. And I'll just show you this real quick, because the dash I think is like pretty darn special. If you get that enchant, you can also go for like the 2. Like you see how far this dash is, and because I have Second Wind, what's going on is like look how far it is. Right, it feels so good to use that dash. So I recommend dash, but if you like Smoke Mine Flame Dash combo that the racers use, and I like that at the beginning of Link as well, I just don't like pressing that in buttons. I really want to avoid like too many buttons on the build, and so I use a dash Second Wind. In here I have an Enlighten. I'm using actually I don't need this because I'm not using that Watcher's Eye anymore. Blood and Sand is for like more AoE, just like every little bit of AoE you can get on the slam skills just feels kind of cool and it looks really cool. Herald of Purity or Herald of Ass at this point is interchangeable. The reason I'm only using one is because the aura that I get from my ring is actually a 50% aura. So even there's no way for me to like enlighten that or like reduce the mana on a leveling build. So I can use one big aura and one herald, and I feel comfortable with that amount of mana. So what that means is that I'm going to choose either Herald of Purity because it gives me more physical, right? And those little summons, they kind of tank for you, which is really nice. And then if I use the Herald of Ass, it's a little bit extra AoE, a little bit burn damage, because remember, you do so much damage that when you one tap something, that overkill burn damage will kill a mob that needs to be cleaned up, right? Really, really nice. But you can choose whatever you want. I don't think you're going to be lacking in damage at all throughout the entire campaign. So even you want to use Herald of Ice for whatever reason, or Herald of Thunder, or like, you know, it's totally fine, right? Don't worry too much about the Herald you choose. Just make sure you're using your aura and a Herald. And then supported by an Enlighten. In here you can put like a Jolem, you can put an ancestral totem of some kind if you want to place that down for a boss. It's up to you. You can use a Whale skill, Whale Haste, Whale Grace for defensives, Haste for a little bit extra movement speed to get you through. It's totally up to you there. I usually use Haste. The issue is that Whale Haste is a soul skill, right? So what that means is like, because it's corrupted, you can't level it back down to level 1 when you're done. So you have to go buy another one. And I'm just too lazy to do that sometimes. So sometimes I leave sockets empty. So that is my gear, and then we're gonna go with skill tree. So no matter where you start, unless you are a scion, which gets delayed by a few levels because it takes longer to travel outwards, your goal on any class, and I think I've played Hollow Palm on every single class, is to get to the outer node to socket this one with nothing right away. I believe at level 12 you can do it if you're just progressing, because once you turn in like your Fairgraves quest, or maybe even a little bit before that, if you're killing a lot of mobs, right, you're just taking it easy, you will have the points. So like for example, Witch would go like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11, right? You go boop, and then you have this node to put in. The Shadow goes like this, whoop whoop whoop, and then you put it in here. The Duelist can go over here or over here. This way is better because you have access over here. If you are a Ranger, you know, you can see how this kind of goes, right? If you are a, you know, and you can see, right, there's always clusters here, and then Scion just takes a little bit more to travel outwards over here, right? She goes boop, and then out here. So that's really cool. Very, very easy to socket. You know, by the time that you are, you can replace like these swords later on for like there's like a fast sword. It's called like a screaming seagull, or like screaming eagle or something like that. But like I'm just super lazy, right? So you can make some adjustments here to if you want in between level upgrades, you can. It just means that you kind of want to carry as much in your inventory when you're leveling as possible, so you have to go back to town the least amount of times. You can just swap in and out of the gear as you hit that level, and it will be very, very fast, trust me. So yeah, at that early level, level 12, you know, if you've done your Dweller of the Deep and like the Fairgraves, you know, that's 2 free skill points right there. You put it in, make sure to take off your gloves, make sure you're not wearing a weapon, make sure you're not wearing a shield or like a quiver for whatever reason. Okay, just make sure you take those off, and as long as these 3 slots are empty, you will be, once you hit this node, you're gonna be like, wow, I'm one-shotting everything. So pretty insane there. This glorious Venite right here is not necessary. In fact, I think this is actually kind of bad because like, I mean, it gives me like some flash charges. Every node has some dex on it, but it's not really necessary. Getting like some life or like some speed or like, you know, anything else, or shoring up your resist if you were to need it, would be better than this. I just think that like this is a funny a funny jewel, because like if you were gonna take this and you're taking this already, and you might take like, you know, you wouldn't take this, but like if let's say you were to take this or this, if you can potentially get 5%, 5%, 5%, 5%. I've seen MB Extreme with like a 35% brutal restraint that was like down here, like bad notables, okay? But still, like you can get a lot of percent dex, but I don't think you'll need it because you're one-shotting everything. So yeah, don't feel like you're required. Like the number and the general does not matter. All that matters is that the jewel says brutal restraint, because that's the thing that gives you the passive dex on the nodes, okay? So like this is like really the only jewel that's mandatory. I went down here and then like I took this. Some people actually anoint utmost swiftness so that the moment that they put on their Astromantes, they have this big dex boost, but I don't think that's really necessary. I just take it myself because these nodes aren't too bad. Now, as for a jewel, a cluster jewel, because you can get to this cluster jewel around the same time you can get to this node right here that gives you your mana leech. You kind of need some mana leech on this build, or at least some, you can use a mana flask, but like feels kind of weird. So these are like really good efficiency points because you get 2 sockets, and you get Feed the Furries is for leeching life, and then Fuel the Fight is for a big leech of mana with, you can see in there is some attack, either some attack speed or some attack damage, you know, mixed in there with those nodes. And then the nodes themselves aren't bad. Keep in mind that if you have a prefix like this, the suffix like this, the 2% attack speed, some of the things that are on here will add levels. So if I didn't have that, that's increased attack speed on there, I believe that this would be a level, I want to say like a level 24 or 28 jewel, right? This added a lot of levels going for that that suffix. So just be careful of that. Use the lowest one you can find, because you'll get down here pretty fast with all skill points when leveling. And I went over here, you know, for some defense, and also like this like makes you faster. And then strike range, if you are using a strike skill, is really, really good here, but I mean, it's still a good node overall. And so yeah, this is pretty much the skill tree. You can get more life here if you want. You can get damage here. You can get more stuff in here. You can go life right here, a little bit more life here, jewel socket here. It's really up to you. You know, dex stones are really good. You can go all the way out into phase acro, but this is pretty much the tree. Now, what I could also do is I could put another cluster jewel here, because like this jewel I could just move right here, since this this thing isn't even like that good. This jewel right here. But yeah, Watcher's Eye is like pretty much, they're so cheap that's pretty much mandatory, because it adds so much juice to the build. If you're starting anywhere else, just a quick thing when you're doing this your first few times, because you won't know where everything is and you might be confused about what do I go next. Just type in like dex, you know, if there's like a big dex node like right next to your tree that's like 1 or 2 travel points, you can just like go and get it, because it is that good if you feel like you need a little bit more damage. And so that is pretty much it, you know, little concessions to time versus like leveling time, right? Like time spent trading, I mean, versus time leveling, because like you could do so much extra stuff, right? Like I've like anointed my rings, I've added an enchant, I did some Varici action here, didn't get 3 white sockets unfortunately, but when you think about it, right, if you are someone that values efficiency, you got to think about how many characters you're going to play, because for me, I play a lot of characters, so every little bit I can get, it just feels so good to have like a cool item. But if you're only going to level once, you just want like the smoothness, and you want to like practice it for like future leagues when you might enjoy the league more, so you play more characters. You know, the time you spent trading and upgrading things and making things cooler or better is time you could just spend killing mobs and getting to like Axe 3. Like I'm pretty sure that the time it takes me to like trade for one upgrade item when I'm like, hey, you know, that'd be a better Twink item, Tai would be like in Axe 6 by the time I even left the Lion Eyes Watch. Okay, so please balance your time in that way. Think about how many characters you're leveling. If you're going to level every single character and you really love a Twink build, and you see yourself playing like 20, 30, 40, 50 characters with it, absolutely go ham on this. You can find a lot more adjustments, a lot more cool things that you can add depending on what you want to play. But for me, my recommendation to you guys is to use Hollow Palm. It is completely busted for leveling. It is unlike anything I've ever played for the leveling, and since I've done it like 10-20 times, you know, when you're going through the motions, oh man, it feels so good and so smooth. There's no trouble at any point. Little tips for when to transition. So remember that when you're leveling, I level every single character this way. Every single character has a skill tree that looks pretty much exactly like this. It might change once again depending on the start location of the character, but it will look like this. And then what I do is I look at the gear that's already preset for my my real build. So for example, let's say what's like a popular build right now, BFBB, right? Maybe I want to transition to BFBB. Well, I'd have all that gear on the side or from a previous character, and then I'll look at the lowest common denominator, right, between all of those, or I guess highest common multiple. I don't even know what the word is, but take a look at the piece of gear for your real build that has the highest level. So if you have like 2120 gems, that's level 72. If you have awakened gems level 6, for example, that's level 82. So that will determine the highest the highest level you need to be to equip all pieces of gear is what you will transition at, right? And usually it's dictated by gems, but sometimes with like things like opal rings level 80, steel rings are level 80, certain items could be a little bit higher. You know, pay attention to that so you can do a full conversion. I always full convert. I never level as the build that it will be, because this build is just so much more efficient, and for me so much more fun to do. So another thing is that how do you get to that stage? Let's say a lot of people ask like, hey, you know, you got to maps at level 62. So what do you do between 62 and 82 when you have all your awakened gems ready to equip and everything for your next builds? Or if you're you know, even if you have lesser versions gems at level 70 or 72, well, what you do is there's a few things. Okay, first, you can just like farm regular maps, like white maps, yellow maps, if you're like kind of a newer player, you're kind of noob. But what I can recommend is, like, because we have Echoes of the Atlas and these fragments are gonna be so gosh darn cheap, okay? Sorry, these aren't fragments, these are breach stones. It's just in a fragment tab. Like, you can run any of the cheap ones and run those quite a while. And then when you get done with these, you know, people that play this game a lot, you're gonna have a ton of these left over, right? You can run some like some charge and then some enrich, right? And then I wouldn't recommend running peers because you just probably sell those, but you know, run some charge ones because that increases the monster level, which increases the XP you get. And it's, you know, I remember in previously with tornado shot leagues where like I'll track my time from like hitting maps and switching the gear over to like level 90, so like pretty much like 70 to 90, and it takes like half an hour to get like from 70 to 90 if you have like pre-rolled maps or running some like breach stones. You know, it is so fast to get to a higher level once you're done. So you shouldn't even worry about that because you're just playing your real build soon enough, right? I don't want to do this trade, but okay, so that is did I go over everything there? I think I did. Let me just take a quick look in here. Let's see, anything else I need to talk about? If you're ever like worried about like a gem thing being like off or something like that, or like you're missing something, or you're like, oh, I forgot, like what should I really put into a minute? Don't worry too much about it. There's so much freedom in the build. The main things I've talked about in here are all you really need. And yeah, that's about it. Pretty fun stuff. Oh, I tried TikTok Slam too. Right, that's pretty fun. Labs, I talked about, right? Like you can do labs whenever you want. Definitely bring in a life potion. Pantheons when leveling. I'd say since you're doing lab like Resloth, I haven't even taken any of these. Resloth is really good, and I guess like reducing of damage over time from traps and stuff, like these two for labbing, you can take those, and then later on your real build, you'll probably be following a build guide, or you can decide what your favorite things are, right? But this is probably for leveling. It's pretty darn good. You got some move speed. I guess you could take this, and yep, that's about it. Rare jewels, go for some life or some dex or resist, whatever you need. And yeah, that is about it. If you right now I'm 61, so you might be asking like where are your next points going. It doesn't really matter. Life, more damage, more life, more defenses, you know. I might even put in like a blood rage, try to use frenzies. Who knows, right? It doesn't really matter because the build is actually just so powerful. So that is going over everything. I guess I could show you like what I use as I get to like the running those like breach stones and stuff, because I don't care about 7 league steps anymore, right? So you just buy like a booties that has like move speed and real life, and you can even swap out the helmet, right? Because at a certain level you can get like tri-res helmets, right? If you don't care about enchant, you get like huge life tri-res helmets for like 1C. So yeah, you know, anything you can do to get better stuff. I mean, you can even start using like really cheap harvest crafted chests if you want like -15 mana costing, that, but this is like this is already overdoing it by quite a bit, right? So yeah, that's basically the how I twink level and what's felt really comfortable. So I don't even need to look at the screen most of the time. I can watch whatever, catch up on whatever like shows I want, and I get leveled in the least amount of headache, in a way that causes the least amount of headache as I can, right? So I stream every day on twitch.tv/q_. If you guys want to ask me any more questions or for specifics, you can ask me there. Stream every day in the evenings at about like 8 o'clock Central Chicago time. And yeah, I hope to see you guys there. And thanks for watching my video, guys. Okay, bye.